So hello Year 8 and 9s. In today's lesson we're considering starting technique, and we're particularly considering the crouch start technique. This technique is used in sprint races and is used in any race that takes place from 100 metres all the way up to 400 metres in athletics. Now the crouch start has some key words that are used to trigger it. So a starter would start a race, and the starter's verbal signal to start the race would be, athletes, take your marks. As soon as athletes are called to their marks, the athletes must set themselves up so that they are ready to begin. The next instruction from the starter would be set, which is short for get set. At that point, the athlete rises in order to get ready to start, and then must remain absolutely still until the starter's next signal goes off. Now normally that signal is bang, because it's the gun being fired. However, we could do it today, and we will be doing it today, with a verbal go. So the instructions for a start of a race are take your marks, set, go. The important thing in this is that there's a pause between each of those instructions. The athletes must be absolutely still between take your marks and set. They must be absolutely still between set and go. And the time between set and go is generally between 1 and 2 seconds. But that can depend on how fast athletes rise into the set position. So the starters will hold the runners. Now the first process that I'm going to show you is how we determine which step we take forwards, which foot we go forwards on. Now what we're looking at here is called a full start. Now you'll notice that what I'm doing is I'm standing with my feet parallel up to the start line, and that I'm falling forwards. As soon as I start to fall forwards, you'll spot that one of my feet come forwards. For me, it's generally always my right foot. That's my strongest foot. That's the leg that I want to take the first step of the race onto. So when I come to measure my start, and when I come to go into the crouch technique, it's my right foot that I'm wanting to take the first step with. Let's have a look at the starting technique. Now the starting technique that you're looking at is called the crouch start. Now the crouch start is important. If I put my feet right up to the start line, then I'm likely to just rise straight up in the air when I want to start. So my feet position are really important. Notice in this position how I'm measuring the distance from the start line to the position that my feet go to. I'll show you that one more time. Take particular attention at where my feet go. My left foot goes to the start line, toe to the line. My right foot goes at a right angle behind my left foot, and then my left foot goes behind my right foot. That's 1.5 foot lengths back from the line. Notice how my toes are touching the floor, both on my front foot, which is hidden by my knee, and my back foot, which is bent. Here we go again. 1.5 feet length back. As I crouch down to the set position, notice that I'm making sure that my front knee is level with my toe. That's what I'm doing here with my hand, making sure that I've got that distance right. Look at my back foot. My toes are curled around so that my toes are touching the floor. This is what we know as the take your marks position. As I move the video on, watch what happens. Now this is a key point here. I'm looking for my body to be elongated here between my shoulders and my hips. Now this position here, this is a rough position. Perhaps as a sprinter I could actually improve this position by taking this front foot back a little bit. This would make my spine absolutely straight. This is what we call the take your marks position. As the starter calls get set, the athlete will rise up onto their hands and shift the body weight forwards. This is the get set position here. Note that both my front leg is bent and my back leg is bent. My back leg to about 120 degrees, my front leg about 90 degrees. So I'm actually able to push off both legs. As the gun goes, the athlete sprints away from that position, trying to maintain a body position of 45 degrees. One more time. Take your marks. Checking the knee and the toe are in alignment with each other. Set. Go! And there you see the sprint technique from the side. Let's now have a look at what it looks like from the front, because there are some key points that we need to note here. This time what you're noticing is I'm making my normal T position 1.5 foot lengths back. Notice the gap between my toe here and my knee. What I did to ensure that I had a decent gap there is I put my fist between the two. It's important that our hip alignment is absolutely square on. If I was to put my knee next to my toe, my hips would be pointing inwards. Not a great position to start from. As I rise up to the set position, my body weight comes up and forwards. And then I drive off both feet. Same thing again. Take your marks. Set. Go! And one final time. Checking that my knee and my toe are level with each other. Notice the hand position and then the start. The final thing that I want to show you in today's lesson for you to have a go at is this. This is a traditional Asian starting technique. It's used by the Japanese. It's also a technique that's used by sprint hurdlers. Notice the difference. Compare and contrast the two. What's happened differently in this starting position? One more time. Did you spot the differences? What were they? So the first key difference that I want you to look at is where the front foot goes. In our previous example of the bullet start, the crouch start, we took our front foot 1.5 foot lengths back. In the bullet start, I've gone back 2 foot lengths. Notice how my body weight doesn't shift forward. In this particular start, I actually rock backwards. So the idea of this is it's a bit like being a coil or a spring. So I go down into my start position. My feet are much, much closer together than they were in the crouch start. In the bullet start, some athletes will have their feet parallel with each other. In this particular situation, I have about 1 foot length between my 2 feet. As I put my hands up to the line, instead of rocking forwards with my body weight so that I become unstable, what I do is I push backwards. Here's the example now. Hips go up, body weight backwards. Notice the difference in foot position. Very, very close. In a crouch start, my back leg was at 120 degrees. Now look, my back leg is at nearly 90 degrees and my front leg is at about 65 degrees. As I start, I uncoil the spring and I move forwards. Have a go at both the crouch technique and the bullet technique and see which one you prefer.